Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Loretta Besson, and I am a retirement plan specialist here at Goulden and McCarthy. I would like to welcome you to our Financial Wellness Program series of webinars. I am joined today by Jen Mulrooney, Vice President and Regional Retirement Consultant at American Century Investments, who will cover the presentation on identity theft, protecting your data and dollars. This presentation will focus on how you can protect yourself and guard your personal information. Great topic. This may be something that we take for granted, but making sure we understand the risk that is out there and what we can do if we find that we have become a victim can truly be invaluable. As a reminder, our team at Goulden and McCarthy is available to help answer any questions you may have regarding this presentation or your financial plan more broadly. We will not be taking questions during this session. However, I will provide our contact information again following the presentation, and certainly feel free to reach out to our office if there's anything that we can assist you with. And with that, I will turn it over to Jen.
Thank you, Loretta. And thank you everyone for participating today. I certainly appreciate your time and appreciate Goulden McCarthy for inviting me to be part of this webinar series. As Loretta mentioned, this is a really important topic, and here's what we'll cover today. First, the most common types of identity theft and how thieves obtain your personal information. We'll talk about the multiple ways we are at risk every day and how we can protect ourselves and the others that we care about. And finally, what to do if you become a victim of identity theft and the critical resources and information you need in order to take swift action and minimize damage. This is a really timely topic. COVID-19 is impacting our world in a lot of ways, including fraud and identity theft. So 3 of the things that have been more common recently, given what's happening in our world, with the rapid changes that are being made to programs that were being rolled out in response to COVID, including earlier this year, the tax due date extension and stimulus payments, fraudsters are really busy at work. There's been recent trends saying that the IRS is calling. There's been an increase in online shopping, and unemployment identity fraud is skyrocketing. So 3 things that are more common now in our current environment than we saw in the past years. New Jersey is in the top 10 for number of fraud complaints related to unemployment during COVID-19. So a really good, timely topic to have right now. So we're going to start by talking about financial identity theft. And that's when criminals use your personal information to get access to your money or your credit. This is the most common type of identity theft. With all forms of identity theft, the consequences can be serious, requiring a great deal of time and money to resolve. And when you see the alarming growth in data breaches, it certainly seems that more of us are at risk. Data breaches are the cases in which a business's or store's sensitive data has been potentially viewed or stolen or used by an individual unauthorized to do so. I'm sure many of you have received information or notification from a company that your data has been stolen. I think many of us have heard about national store chains or different organizations over the years that have run into this situation. It's a frightening statistic, but in 2016, more than 30% of people involved in data breaches became victims of identity theft. And as you can see, in 2017, there were 1,579 data breaches, exposing nearly 179 million records, according to the Identity Theft Resource Center. That represents a 44% increase in the number of breaches and a 389% increase in the records exposed. And while these incidents get a lot of coverage in the news, it's not the only way that thieves get our information. So let's talk about some of the ways that they get this information. It's often said that it's not a question of whether you will be a victim of identity theft, but when. And there are ways that thieves get your personal information. And we'll talk about how they use technology and how they might still use the old-fashioned way. You can see on this list here, they could dig through your trash, take your mail. It could be something as simple as misplacing your purse or wallet or having that taken from you. So there are still many ways that we might take for granted that don't happen anymore. It's not just done electronically. All of this might seem overwhelming or even scary, but there's a lot of things you can do to help limit your exposure. About 50% of the crimes are caught by personal monitoring. So be sure to check your financial statements and balances every month. Check your credit twice a year with one of the 3 credit agencies. I personally check mine once a month, but guidance is to check it at least twice a year. Now let's look at the places and ways where we're at risk and what we can do to help minimize that. So the first thing is storing important information. So think about your important documents like your social security cards, birth certificates, car titles, tax returns, insurance policy, or maybe a loan agreement. Secure in a place that's safe, like a fire-safe file cabinet, or a home safe or a safety deposit box at your bank. I'm going to add one more item to the list based on personal experience. If you pay bills electronically, and you use your checkbook on a limited basis, I would suggest keeping your checkbook in a fire-safe cabinet as well. I recently had a friend who was selling her home, left her checkbook in a desk drawer, and had random checks taken out of the checkbook and then cashed 2 weeks before Christmas. They weren't checks she was expecting because it wasn't done sequentially, and they were really caught off guard when that happened right before the holidays. Thieves can also obtain personal information by going through your mail. Your utility bills, your bank or financial statements, credit card offers, all contain some personal information. Oftentimes it's enough information that thieves can easily fill in the missing pieces. So here are some suggestions. If you don't receive mail for a couple days, report it to the post office. Pay attention to the delivery dates on your bills or statements. Or if you haven't done so already, consider going paperless and have statements sent to you electronically. And opt out of marketing lists and credit card offers, which limits your mail and your vulnerability. And always hold your mail if you'll be away for more than a few days. Finally, use the privacy settings on your home Wi-Fi and set a password for your family's use only. Now let's talk about how to protect yourself when you're away from home. First and foremost, be aware of your location. Avoid insecure areas. So for example, when you're at an ATM located in a bank lobby, that's relatively safe. Paying at the pump terminals at a gas station sometimes are not. Credit card fraud at a pay at the pump gas station can put yourself at risk. A lot of times there's card tracers if the station is not being diligent about that. So be careful about what you're using. Either pay with cash or potentially use the same credit card. So if there is a situation of fraud, you've got one credit card and you're not going to have the card that's linked to Amazon or all of your other bill pay systems in jeopardy because you've used it at a gas station and it's now at risk. I think the same thing can be true of convenience stores or any place where you've heard about fraud situations with those credit card trackers. Also, protect your PIN number. When you enter your PIN, no matter where you are, cover it with your other hand. Don't accept help. One scam is when someone says, comes up to you at an ATM machine, asks you if you need help. Do not enter your information with somebody nearby. I know it sounds like a really obvious situation, but there are a lot of examples where somebody has asked for help and somebody has seen them enter their PIN number and then put their personal information at risk. Try to use secure payment methods like Apple Pay and PayPal and Venmo, and always walk away if something looks odd. Use a different ATM machine. Contact your bank immediately if anything strange happens. And don't shop or make financial transactions when using public Wi-Fi. Now, how to protect yourself. Think about now what you carry around with you every day. By some accounts, 1,000 purses and wallets are stolen every 2 minutes in the US. So stop for a moment and think about what's in your wallet or what's in your bag right now. Consider removing unnecessary information and limiting your cards to your driver's license, maybe 1 or 2 credit cards, your debit card, potentially your health insurance card, and your work ID. Never leave your Social Security card in your wallet or in your purse. Keep it stored in your secure location. Keep in mind that in many cases, such as with store credit cards, you don't need to have the actual physical card with you. They can look up your account with your driver's license. So the less you carry, the less that can be carried away by a fraudster. I'm sure many of you that are listening to today's webcast have had your wallet or purse taken at some point, or you've left it behind somewhere. So it's important to remember that that information is still at risk and vulnerable depending on what you're carrying there. Now let's talk about how to protect yourself on the phone. Believe it or not, calling people on the phone is still one of the ways criminals obtain your personal information. Hang up if someone calls you and asks you to verify account information or clear up a bill, and then call that business directly. Other popular scams are asking for your card or bank information for a charitable donation or because you've won a special prize. I had a family member receive a call saying her son was arrested and she needed to wire money to get him out of jail. They knew his name and they knew personal information about them. Fortunately, she was smart enough to just text her son and verify that he was okay. But that could have been a situation where somebody might have just gotten nervous about the call and acted without giving it a second thought. Again, the best defense is to just hang up. Thieves prey on polite people who will stay on the phone with them. Our mobile phones are a host of personal information as well. So lock it with a strong passcode so your information is not readily available to a thief. Use a fingerprint scan or facial recognition if you have this technology available. Also consider installing track and wipe software that can automatically wipe your cell phone of its contents remotely. Your wireless carrier may offer this application, and you'll probably want to back up your phone's contents periodically to your computer or to the cloud so that if you're in an event where you need to clear your phone, you've got this information backed up to the cloud or to a computer. If your phone is stolen, this software may also track where thieves have taken it, and authorities can help you obtain it. A lot of people use this information just to find their phones in their house. So some people don't even have their phone stolen, but they still find it useful in case they've misplaced their phone and need to track it down. I know I personally once used it to find my phone when I dropped it walking my dogs. So multiple uses there. And then now we'll talk about how to protect yourself with passwords. And the first time I saw this slide, I thought to myself, does anybody really use these as passwords? But you would be surprised. If you're using any of the most common passwords, change them because thieves know these passwords too. And you can even Google what the top passwords are and you'll receive information. And it's shocking how many people continue to use these passwords. There's a security application service provider called Splash Data, and they publish a list of the top passwords every year. Surprisingly, you'll see that people rely on a simple word or a simple number pattern. One of the most important things you can do to protect yourself is to have strong passwords. You want to make something that's memorable to you, but doesn't fit easy to any other pattern, or wouldn't be something that somebody could easily decode based on getting some simple information about you. Use unique passwords across sites. If you use the same password across multiple businesses, if one is compromised, then the others are compromised as well. You can create different passwords for low-risk sites like news or blog sites, and then take greater care with shopping or financial institution websites. I know we all have a lot of passwords to remember, and it's difficult to remember them all. There is software available to help you track your passwords. If you choose to write down your passwords, please keep them in that secure location so that fire-safe file cabinet or whatever you've determined is your safe spot to keep your personal information. Please do not write the list down on any notes application on your phone or your computer that is potentially unsecured or uploaded to a cloud. Please make sure that you're keeping that information as safe and secure as possible. Many experts will suggest creating a memorable phrase or a sentence, maybe a line from an obscure song, or combining some nonsensical words that would make sense to you, but again, not somebody who had basic information about you. So how to protect yourself online. This is an interesting one for me because I got a question about this just last week from a family member. Criminals often use phishing emails to fish for private information. They're using this information to mine for bank account numbers, your social security number, or credit card information. And some of them are quite convincing, luring you in by replicating the look of a website that you trust, like Amazon or a bank. Typical characteristics of a phishing email are embedded URL links, a sense of urgency for you to act immediately, threatening a consequence for not responding, having a grammatical or spelling error, and they often replicate a legitimate company's logo. So if you look at the slide here, all of these items are there. You'll see a misspelling with the word advice. You'll see the sense of urgency. They want you to respond right away. There'll be an embedded URL link. So there's a direct link right there. What I typically do, and we get phishing emails at work all the time because they want to make sure that our employees are not going to fall for a phishing scam. I always hover my mouse over the sender. It might look like it's coming from eBay or Amazon or another trusted website, but when you put your cursor over who is sending you the email, you'll often see that it's not Amazon.com or eBay.com. It might be a .org or .edu or another website or another email address that is similar, but not the quite right email address for you there. So pay attention to those things. And if you have a question, call them directly. Reach out to the company directly and ask them if they reached out to you to change your email address, to update your personal information, to update your password. And that will be the way that you can confirm that they weren't actually needing you to take action at that point in time. Never click on a link in an email from someone when you don't know who the person is or if you're unsure about it. Again, hover over the link before clicking on that there. Do not respond to requests for personal information, and periodically run antivirus or malware programs on your computer and set it to auto update. On your tablets and on your phones, keep your operating systems up to date and your apps updated so you make sure you have all of the necessary and current security provisions in place. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago about being out in public, a few moments ago, do not use public computers or Wi-Fi, like ones at coffee shop or public Wi-Fi at airports or trains for sensitive transactions. Assume someone is always looking over your shoulder. I know many of us are not using public transportation right now, but if you're still flying or still using a train to commute, you can buy a privacy shield on Amazon for your laptop. That's about $26.99. If you don't have a privacy shield, the person sitting behind you or the person sitting next to you will be able to see what you're doing on your computer. And make sure to read mail from your financial institutions when it arrives. These businesses may send out confirmations to you if somebody has changed an address, if somebody's changed a password, or any other sensitive personal financial information. Now, how to protect yourself with social media. Savvy criminals have basic information on you, and then they look at your social media account to fill in the blanks. So for example, when you forget a password and it's asked to be reset, you'll get a series of security questions that you created when you established your account. You may have unknowingly given the answer to one of your security questions on your social media account. So think about what you or your friends or your family members have recently posted on social media. And then think about the common challenge questions that you receive from website. Birthdays. Information is often on Facebook and LinkedIn. And this information is available to your connections in your personal profile unless you've suppressed this information So think about the number of times you've made a call and somebody said to you, "What's your date of birth?" You may have unknowingly provided that information on one of your social media accounts. Another common security question is your hometown or your city of birth. Again, this information may be on your personal profile on Facebook, or maybe you listed the high school that you graduated from on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Even if you personally did not provide this information, a friend may have posted this information. Maybe you have an upcoming high school reunion, or maybe you congratulated your hometown sports team on a recent victory and unknowingly provided this personal information. Perhaps you post pictures of your children or your pets and tag their names. People often use versions of their children's or pets' names and passwords. Your first pet is often a common security question. Relationship status. Leave this one blank. No one needs to know if you are recently single and you may be home alone. The final one, the next one is interesting to me. This one didn't strike me until I started talking to folks about identity theft. But identifying your family members on Facebook can also give somebody very personal information. So oftentimes a financial institution will say to you, "What's your mother's maiden name?" If you've identified your mother on Facebook and your mother has a Facebook account that says her name is Joan Hill Smith, all they need to do is click on your mother's account, who you've identified as a family member, to obtain her maiden name. So even if you are connected with family members on Facebook, I would suggest not designating them as family members so that somebody can dig into your personal information and obtain your mother's maiden name. Vacation photos and activity updates are also notifying people that you're away, and that's never a good idea unless you have somebody staying at your home. And I'm sure all of you can think of many examples. I think one that's been very popular during lockdown the last few months is a status that I just saw a friend do last week. And the comment was, I think we're all tired of news about lockdown. We're all tired about news about politics. Let's do something fun. And then it's a series of 10 questions asking about favorite foods, favorite colors, vacations, all very personal information. And the person answers it and asks their friends to copy and post and answer the questions as well. And while it is fun and you do get to know people a little better, again, you're unknowingly providing very personal information that somebody can use to either answer your security questions or hack into your account. And when I saw this posted recently, the first comment I saw was from a friend that said, "While I appreciate getting to know you, I do not share personal information on social media because I don't want to provide this information to a potential identity theft." And I was so excited when I saw that, because not only are people aware now that this information shouldn't be something that you're posting on social media, it actually encouraged the person who posted it to delete the post and take it down so that they didn't set themselves up for risk. So I was thinking of making a similar comment. I was going to send a direct message to the individual, but when I saw that comment on the post, I thought, great, okay, hopefully we'll put an end to this trend and stop sharing our personal information on social media. Now let's talk about the people that we care about. And I'm going to start by talking about kids, because the kids are online a lot more than we are, and it's important to talk to them about risk. Personally, my kids love doing fun surveys online to tell them strange things like whether or not they'd survive a zombie apocalypse, or weird things like what type of bread they are. But when they're doing these surveys or downloading games, they often ask for personal information, and they don't think twice about providing information or their date of birth. Or when they're buying things online, they don't always use that filter to determine whether or not the site is secure. Children are being targeted more and more, and it starts the day they are born and leave the hospital with a social security number. If thieves can get a hold of a kid's social security number, they can use it to apply for government benefits, open bank accounts, credit cards, apply for a loan, or potentially utility service. And because we don't think about it, this can go undetected for a long period of time. Additionally, a lot of school forms and organizations also require personal information, and sometimes they'll ask for the social security number. I would suggest when you're periodically checking your credit report, you also check your child's, just to ensure that nobody has opened an account or used their social security number for any reason. So don't just check your credit report, check your kids' credit reports as well. The earlier the crime is caught, the better. So let's talk about how you can protect those that you care about. You can purchase programs to help monitor your credit for about $120 to $300 a year. These organizations will contact you with any irregularities or to verify activity. You can also get free credit monitoring from Experian, so you can check your reports and your scores every 30 days. You can also get a free dark web scan to see if any of your private information is already exposed on the web. The key to limiting damage is to acting quickly. So the first thing to do is to contact any financial, medical, or other institution related to theft so they can watch for new suspicious activity. Change your passwords at your bank, investment companies, utilities, and other financial institutions. Next, contact the 3 credit reporting bureaus and ask them to flag your information with a fraud alert and get copies of your credit report. For suspected theft of your Social Security number, inform the Social Security office and the IRS. If you expect your identity was stolen through the mail, or if a false change of address was issued, contact the Postal Inspection Service. You want to create an identity theft report by filing an identity theft affidavit with the FTC and a police report with your local precinct, and then send letters that you've done this to document your notifications. So let's talk about the good habits today and recap what we talked about. Do not carry your sensitive information in your purse or wallet, and don't leave this information in your car either, even if you're just going into the store for a quick moment. Shred documents that contain personal information. Use strong passwords and change them often. I think before I started running through this identity theft webinar, I had the same bank PIN for about 20 years, and I finally changed it, and I've gotten myself into a practice of changing it more regularly. Do not give out personal information to strangers via the phone or via email. Detection's the new prevention, so monitor all 3 of your credit reports and set up fraud alerts. So remember, contact the 3 credit bureaus to set up an alert. The fraud alert lasts for 90 days and it's a free service. Freeze your credit. Restrict potential creditors from accessing your credit report, making it really hard for thieves to open accounts in your name. And be in contact with each credit bureau. Be vigilant. You can't prevent 100%, but you can limit your risk. Be alert, understand threats, and know the signs that you need to have in place. In any given day, there are about 50 identity thefts a minute. That would mean in the 45 minutes that we've allotted for today's program, there would be about 2,250 identity thefts that have occurred. My goal here today was for you to leave with a better understanding of identity theft risks and to leave you with some steps to limit your exposure. So stay aware, limit your access, and monitor your accounts. And that very first step is having greater awareness. So think about the information that you share, that you make available, and limit the amount that you're providing more globally. The second is to limit access. And we discussed several tactics today that will help frustrate the people that are trying to obtain your personal information. And finally, monitor your accounts. We're all on the go and we're all really busy, and it's hard to give each statement the scrutiny it deserves. But the sooner you find issues, the less damage that can be done. So try and set time aside each month to look at your credit card statements and to look at your bank statements and just make sure there's no irregularities. I know it's sometimes hard to do when you're getting electronic statements and you have electronic payments set up, but try and take the time, even if it's just a half an hour that you set aside once a month, to look at those financial statements. And finally, I want to leave you with the resources available. So if you have questions about whether or not something is a scam, contact the Identity Theft Resource Center. And you'll see that there are several resources here. There's the free annual credit reports. There's the Social Security information. We provided some web addresses and some phone numbers for the credit reporting agencies. You can opt out of pre-approved credit offers by using this information and be part of the Do Not Call program as well. I don't have the Identity Theft Resource Center on this slide, so I'm going to give you their website. It's www.idtheftcenter.org. That's another great place to contact as well, just to make sure that you're doing the right thing and to verify if something is a scam. That's all of the time we have today. So I want to again thank Golden McCarthy for inviting me to be part of their webinar series, and I will turn it back over to Loretta.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen. This was terrific content, chock full of information in 30 minutes, but a lot of great takeaways I think that we can all agree on. Certainly on our end, and I know folks have always like to share stories. People have been experienced and gone through this. Unfortunately, on our end, we have actually adopted a software called LastPass, which actually is terrific to help store your passwords, and it's just one website that you would need to go to and create a master password, and then any of your other passwords for any of the other websites are scrambled, and that has been a terrific resource for us. Certainly a lot of great tips and things to look out for. Certainly not something that we want to take for granted. I know as a follow-up, Jen has been gracious enough to provide an American Century an identity theft checklist, so we will certainly share that with the folks on the call and also put that information on our website. I have our contact information here, so as I mentioned earlier, this session is going to be recorded, so you can certainly log onto our website and access this content, and if there are any additional follow-up questions, certainly reach out to our office. We thank you for your time. Thank you, Jen, and we hope you all have a happy and safe afternoon. Thank you.